average person has around 12 jobs in their lifetime, but only one personal brand. If you're not taking yours seriously, it will cost you. This is the way to build a personal brand. I'm thrilled to have an extraordinary guest with us today, someone who has truly earned the title of Queen of Personal Branding. In 2023, she launched her business with massive success, amassed over 100,000 followers on LinkedIn alone, and secured a coveted spot on the Forbes list. Beyond the accolades, she has become a trusted advisor to CEOs and founders, offering invaluable insight into the power of personal branding. Listeners, get ready to dive into the world of personal branding as we sit down with the one and only Lara Acosta. Welcome, Lara.
Hi, what an intro. Thank you so much.
I think deserving for everyone watching and listening. This is the first recording of 2024. So Happy New Year as well, Lara.
Happy New Year.
So Lara, let's just start right away. Why is personal branding so important today? And should everybody have one?
Yeah, I actually think that this question is funny because everybody thinks personal branding is new, but it's not at all. Like, we've all had a personal brand since we were born. Like, personal brand is technically reputation. It's what you're known for. When you were a kid and your teachers hated you for being, let's say, just a mess, that was your personal brand. Just like that messy kid. For me, was like that, like know-it-all girl. That was my personal brand. It's your reputation, your charisma, your expertise. That is your personal brand. So it's not that everybody should have one. Everybody has one, but they don't know that they have one, so they're not utilizing it to their advantage. But everybody has one, and everybody should use it.
And I think what you just said there about not everybody realizing that they have one, because we do, but just a lot of people don't put enough focus on it because it's not something that throughout any of your time in school or anything like that you ever learn or think about in that regard. And I think social media has helped put a spotlight on it because now people can, accentuate that, echo that personal brand out in a way that before it might have been limited to just who was interacting with them in person, which is why I think you hear about it a lot more now than you would have in the past.
Totally. Yeah, I agree. I think social media has skyrocketed the need for people to get out there and start branding themselves. As we've seen, there's so many layoffs every single week now, a month, like big Google, etc., everywhere. So the need for people to just utilize what they have, the knowledge that they have, to then make something out of themselves, like a product or like a service or anything. That's why personal branding has just exploded online.
I think another thing too with it that has put additional focus on it is that kind of in the same way with what you said back with, your teacher and thinking of you as, somebody who, how did you describe it? What did she consider you or he?
A know-it-all.
A know-it-all. So in that scenario, okay, that's how you were seen and perceived. Now, maybe another teacher or maybe your parents or somebody else might have put you into another category. And I think when we think about it today on social media, the risk that a lot of people have is that on Instagram, maybe the persona they're putting off or Facebook or whatever is the person who's always off on their lovely, whatever it is, vacations, and they're coming off as a little bit more of an influencer that way. Or maybe it's about food, or maybe it's about this. But I think what happened a lot, and especially as people who are hiring, will sometimes go and peruse social media. And therefore, people have created this personal brand sometimes without actually knowing if that's what they want their personal brand to be of them. And again, I think that's the other thing is sometimes now people are thinking about personal brand because they may have created a brand and not realizing it that may or may not actually represent who they are, but sometimes represents how they wanted people to see them, which I just think introduces a whole nother, approach to how you manage a personal brand as well.
Yeah, it's all about, I agree. In fact, social media is a highlight reel. You're not going to show off the bad days more than you're going to show the good days. So there's a balance to have when it comes to your personal brand and how much you're sharing. There's this question of authenticity of how much should someone be vulnerable for, how often to then be seen as authentic. But in reality, it's just up to you and what you want to be known for. A very high prestigious entrepreneur or CEO won't be crying online, but a beauty influencer that's really close to her community will. So that is the different levels to, and like the different types of brand in that there are. Like there's so many different fragments, and there's no right or wrong. It's just, what do you want? And also, the most beautiful thing about personal branding is that you can decide to change it any moment. You can rebrand your entire life whenever you decide. That's the beauty of the internet. Like if I woke up tomorrow and I decide, okay, now I want to be an artist, I could slowly transition into that just because the internet gives me that ability, and I could easily go and learn those skills. So yeah, I think it's amazing.
You actually did have a bit of a pivot, right, in your own personal brand?
Yes, I did. I did indeed. Yeah. My background first was fitness influencing. I was a fitness influencer. I amassed over like 30K on Instagram, 40K on TikTok, 50K, I think. And then I was like, this is just not for me. Like it was too vain. I was losing love for what the sport I was doing, powerlifting. And I was like, I don't want to be known for just my body or my strength or what I look like, because Instagram is very vain. And I was like, I want to be known for my brain, because every single time I'd speak about what I was into besides sport, no one cared. And I was like, well, I care. And I'm tired of being fragmented into this box that people were putting me in, which was fitness. I'm like, I'm way more than that. So I went and did something completely different, and I went and 10x the results that I had on my previous venture in the fitness influencing world.
And Lara, how did you decide during that pivot to go from Instagram, TikTok to LinkedIn?
It's technically the same as content creation. So the pivot was technically 3 years ago. I was looking for a change, and I was like, okay, what do I do? So I stumbled onto a Gary Vee keynote speech, and it's like LinkedIn is Facebook in 2015. That's the title, I think. It's like 2020 video. And I watched it and I was like, what's he on about? And then he opens with, you have to get on LinkedIn. You guys didn't listen to me about TikTok. Now look what happened. So now are you going to listen to me? And I was like, okay, I'll listen to the man. So I rushed and created my like LinkedIn account, and I started studying it. I binge watched a bunch of his videos on LinkedIn and tried to understand the platform, watched a few more others on like other creators, and just dedicated like entire 2 weeks. I remember I became really obsessed with learning LinkedIn because it just felt surreal. I was scrolling through it and I seen viral posts behind viral posts, and posts that on Instagram just wouldn't even hit. And I was like, I need to get on this. And then I did. And here we are.
That's awesome.
And what would you say has been kind of the biggest mindset shifts and learnings that you had to kind of go from Instagram and TikTok to LinkedIn? And if you were giving somebody an advice, what are the highlight reels of here's what you should be doing?
I think, and I'm seeing this now with myself, I'm trying to grow on TikTok and I'm trying to grow on Twitter now because I just want to diversify the brand and just reach as many people as possible to help them. And I find myself going back to old habits, and I'm like, okay, what's the best time to post? How many times a day should I post? What is the best hook to use? Let me ask you, how long did it take you to grow? And when someone asks me those questions on LinkedIn, I get so upset because I'm like, it's not about that. It's about consistency. It's about how much you hone in on your message and how much time you're willing to dedicate to the platform every single day. That's it. That's the key. It's consistency. Everything else doesn't matter as long as you keep on trying new things every single day, analyzing the data, iterating, and then going again. That's the only thing that matters. That's the only tip anyone should have.
With that, I am curious though, because when you mentioned back to Gary Vee, which I remember seeing actually that same one. Now, I didn't go all in the way that you did, which obviously we could see based on the results. Really amazing. But how much time when you were dedicating to that growth, because, and when you look at these other platforms now that you're diversifying, how much time were you putting in to really dedicated to the growth that you were able to achieve?
At the start, well, I want to preface this by saying I was a broke student. I was at university. I had all the time in the world. At uni in the UK at least, you're not lectures are only half the day. The rest of the day, you're free. You have nothing else to do but getting drunk with your friends or going out. So I was spending upwards to 6 hours on the platform trying to learn every single thing about it. Like that's it, bare minimum. I still spend up to 4 to 6 hours a day, and I've got all the followers. So it's nonstop, but I love it.
That's great. You also said something else that was interesting about that choice that you had. You could go get drunk, do that side of it, or you could take the approach to where you focus at. And I think that goes and starts to, again, create and separate those personal brandings in their own right, which is why you get that divide sometimes between people who have something that looks like this more disheveled personal brand online versus those who really look, like it's focused. And I think that's also a key difference. And I think a lot more people are doing this today, and it starts to get rid of that age barrier that could otherwise exist in the workplace where people are like, well, you're not an expert because you haven't been here doing this for 10 to 20 years or whatever it is that you might expect in corporate America, because you quickly became this expert. I mean, I say quickly, I know you put in loads of time to dedicate yourself to being able to do that, but now you are one of the foremost experts in this space, which is really incredible. And I think something that is a huge opportunity for more people if they really want to dedicate and decide to focus on that, building out their own personal brand towards whatever it is that they want to build a business around.
Yeah, absolutely. Out of like any successful person I've ever met, they're not the smartest, they're not the most intelligent. They just worked harder than everyone else. Like they outwork everyone else. I look up to David Goggins a lot because his work ethic is crazy. So he's my bare minimum. Like I'm like, if he can carry the boats and do all that, I can at least post a post on LinkedIn. Like that is literally my I live an easy life. Like I wake up, write stuff on the internet, and then go to sleep. Like it's really not that hard.
Yeah, it's funny though you say that, because it's like that discipline piece of actually doing that at least consistently is where so many people end up struggling. And obviously
I truly believe that it's about how bad you want it. Like we all have bad habits. Like we wake up late, we drink a lot, like we go out. I used to be that girl, like just at university, I was going out all the time. That is a habit, but I was consistent with it because it was part of my personal brand. It was so how much are you willing to make a change and dedicate onto good things? Because we all have habits. It's easy to break them or easy to make them as well. It's just how bad do you want it? And I wanted it really bad. So that was the differentiator for me.
Was there a driver to what made you want it that bad? Because some people, I think, struggle with that deep down desire.
Honestly, not massive driver. I just knew that I had to do it. Like I was like, I've got the skills. No, actually, I lie. I was driven out of pettiness. I'm not gonna lie. I saw someone blowing up, and they were like blowing up because they posted a cat. It was a cat, and they were talking about the cat on LinkedIn, and it had like 4,000 likes. And I was like, I have a whole ass marketing degree, and I'm unemployed. How are you going viral and getting all these leads, and I'm not? So I was like, fuck that shit. Let me try it. And then I went for it. So I'm 100% driven out of spite, actually. Like, ignore me.
Having a chip on your shoulder is a good motivating factor. Just fighting that chip. And it seems like you found the right chip.
It works. It works. It's not the healthiest. Like all psychologists, if like they're listening to this, like call me. But I'm fine. But it's good. It's good. It's been fun.
Art and I are actually both reading a book right now from Patrick Bet-David called Choose Your Enemies Wisely. And literally he talks about that approach of how you pick, call it whatever, the enemy or whatever is going to drive you, because you know that you, if it isn't spite or whatever it might be. So when I read that, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, good. I feel a little bit better about these times in my life where what I was really motivated by is I'll prove you wrong, or I could do that. So nothing but respect around that. We'll see what the psychologists say to all of us later.
Yeah, call me. Like, I don't know. Yeah. We can chat later.
Lara, you mentioned a couple of names already, but just curious, who are other kind of people that have influenced you a lot and people that you look up to?
I think my main influence is my dad. He is an insane person, and I just look up to him so much. For so long, I just felt really lost, like every teenager or like at college, university. And I just felt like I just didn't have it in me. And I would come to my dad and he would just say, you got it. Like, just be patient. Just believe in yourself. Just be yourself. I used to be like the outcast at school. No one got me. And then my dad was there for me, be like, your time will come. Just wait. And then it did come. Now I'm like here and I'm so happy. And the way he just deals with stuff has gotten me to where I am just because I have someone to look up to that's so great. And it's so inspiring.
Love
Great
it.
answer. I mean, it's beautiful.
Thank you. I love him.
Kind of taking it back to 2023 and kind of the sequence of events for you. At what point did you decide, okay, there's something here. I think I have a business here.
Okay. The moment I was posting stuff and I was enjoying it, and then a CEO messaged me like, can you do the same for me? I'll pay you. That is the moment I realized I was trying to be a freelancer. Like, my agency was born from an attempt, no, many failed attempts at dropshipping, Etsy stores, Amazon FBA, again, another agency. Then the last version of it was a social media agency where I tried to do TikTok because I was doing TikTok already. And I hated it. Like, I just didn't want to do video anymore. Like, I really enjoyed reading. And then I just started writing stuff on LinkedIn, and my writing kept on improving, and I just felt myself getting smarter. And that drive for more knowledge brought income to my life. And then I was like, I can make a job out of learning from the best entrepreneurs in the entire world. They get to pay me for an hour of coaching because when I write their content, I need to listen to them. And I was like, this is a whole business model that I didn't know. And then I started looking into it. It's a whole like personal branding agency, copywriting, etc. It's crazy. And I was like, this is for me. Like, I'm done. And then I went all in. I studied everything, all the copywriting videos, all the best copywriters on LinkedIn, Twitter, everywhere. I just went all in.
And how much of your world today is doing that work you just described versus as you launch your first cohort and going down that pathway? Like, how's that divide?
Yeah, now it's more like 80-20. So like I went full in on the cohort. It's been my baby. I really enjoyed building it. And with clients, I only work 20% of the time. I've really niched down on the type of client that I want to write for. Because at the start, as every freelancer, you just take the work that you can to build your portfolio, to understand how pricing works, to just understand what you even want. Like, because at the start, you don't know. You just want to get money and experience, right? So then the more I work with people, the more I realized, okay, this is easier for me to write. This is more entertaining. I am being more fulfilled. The more focus on fulfillment I had, the better for me, because the better the content, the better the results, the more impact we had. Both more leads for them, more like intention for me in the writing, overall better results.
That's great. So interesting to see. So do you enjoy that side of it more than it sounds like, or have you just dedicated more time to it because it's just been the key focus for you right now? Like, would you take on more of the other type of clients, or is this kind of, yeah?
So if the right client comes my way, I will take them. Like, I absolutely love copywriting. It's like my favorite thing in the world. But teaching it to others at a mass scale, like a one-to-many, has been very impactful for me because I can see massive results in less time. Rather than with a client, it's a lot of iterations going back and forth. The first month is like, okay, onboarding, and then the course. And then with the cohort was instant results. Like, people just took everything I taught them and implemented it. And I just got to see more people, hang out with them, create a community of like-minded individuals. Or even now, the cohort's ended, and there's people still going. They're getting like top voice badges, they're getting leads, they're getting viral posts, and it's just like fulfilling. It's great because I was like, I was part of your journey.
It's amazing. I've watched some of them because, for whatever reason, I say whatever reason, and I'm sure it's the network effect as these individuals join your program. But I kept finding that I'd be connecting with these people, and through our DMs or whatever it is, I find out, or because they posted about being in your cohort, all of a sudden I'm like, wow, another one. So there were so many individuals, and I could see that transformation that they went through, and it was really incredible.
Yeah, it's been magical. Honestly, I never thought it was a long distant dream. I've always been so into marketing since I was like a kid. I got my first MacBook when I was like 8, 9. I remember the time when my dad literally brought it to me. He's like, happy birthday. And I was like, oh my God. And since I was like a little girl, like I knew I wanted to be in the internet for a long time. So now getting to put all those hours into practical things and teach everything that the magic internet has taught me, it's just a gift. I love it.
We've been talking a lot about the soft skills and some of the more intangibles. But if we want to get to like tangible stuff, what are some tools that people should be using for personal branding?
LinkedIn is definitely the best way to start building your personal brand. Like out of every social media platform, LinkedIn's just hit 1 billion users. Only 5% are posting and only 3% are posting weekly. So that literally puts you in the 1% of LinkedIn if you're posting consistent content, which isn't that hard in comparison to TikTok, Instagram, everything, even Twitter. It's so hard to stand out nowadays because there's so much content. On LinkedIn is the opposite. There's not enough content in comparison to the users. So if you truly wanted to build a personal brand, LinkedIn is a gold mine.
I love how, speaking of branding, you still call it Twitter, even though it's not Twitter anymore.
Oh, X. It'll be Twitter for me forever.
Me too, but that's actually an art, and I say debated this. I don't know that we're too far off from it, but it's one of those when you have that strong of a brand and you change it, you're like, but why? It was,
But why?
Like,
yeah,
like new Coke.
I mean,
they did that. Yeah,
I'm sure it'll make sense in due time, but right now it just I don't get it.
Right, when it is truly the everything app and we're using it for X reasons. So I'm curious too, just to go down a little deeper into those tools. So right now, for your LinkedIn content, do you leverage any specific tools when you are creating content?
Yeah, I use opus.clip, which is amazing for podcasting or like videos or anything. I use it for clients a lot and for myself when I want to get content ideas, because Opus literally takes a podcast and then it clips it to like its top 10 viral clips. And then from that, I can get content inspiration for like copy or just actually post it. Then the next tool I use is Taplio, which is a LinkedIn scheduling tool. And also it helps me create content. So with AI and stuff, it leverages ChatGPT and stuff. But my favorite one is Tweet Hunter, which is Taplio, but for Twitter, X, which is amazing because I can get so much content ideas and inspiration from that. Taplio and Tweet Hunter is technically the same, just in different platforms. So I love them both equally. And the last tool I used, Authored Up. It helps me format my content. Ideally, I think you guys have seen LinkedIn has a very specific way of writing. So I feel like the stat was 67% of people browse LinkedIn on mobile. So making your content mobile friendly is definitely one of the things that people should consider when writing content. So that tool is a Google Chrome extension. It helps you write accordingly to how people read on the phones. So it gives you an advantage because it makes your content more skimmable and easier to read and consume, and therefore easier for them to engage with it and like it.
You mentioned Opus. When you use that, so are you going to specific podcasts that, whether it's a client or just somebody you admire, and then are you then getting ideas from there that you then leverage, or are you actually using Opus to create the clips itself?
I use it for everything. So if I have a podcast with like one of my clients and they went on a podcast and I'm trying to write content for them, I'll use Opus to get the podcast and then get the viral clips and then get the ideas because they're already proven. So it helps me break writer's block, because that's a common thing. When you go and write a post, you're like, what am I going to write about? That literally just saves me like an hour of procrastination and I get straight to the point. With myself, I can do the same. So if I went on a podcast and I want to try and find the best nuggets, then I go on there and I use it for myself, and I can either use the videos or then, write from that.
Okay, makes sense. I've experimented a little bit with it, just for our own podcast clips, but I've struggled because it comes back to me sometimes. I think sometimes the nugget of what you said of the idea of the concept is good, but sometimes when it does the actual clips, I'm like, like it's not there. But maybe this is because Art and I also have editing background, so we get really particular about it. So I was very curious to see how you use it. So good to know.
Yeah, I also feed it like pre-edited clips. Like I love the subtitle like concept. It's amazing. Like it's got pro subtitles all in one. All I have to do is add the clip that I want and it gives it to me. So
I think a lot of what we talked about was wins and positive movement. But let's talk about the other side. Like, what are the challenges that you faced since you kind of made that shift to going from a fitness influencer to rebranding yourself? What are the challenges that you face?
Not so many challenges at all. Like, I literally built the ideal version of myself online, and now I'm growing a business. How crazy is that? So not so many challenges. Obviously, the typical entrepreneurial challenge is like, what is an SOP? Like, what is a framework? I'm just a creator. Like, I literally just finished uni, so how am I meant to know that? So all those typical, bottlenecks that an entrepreneur will find, that those have been my biggest struggles. But overall, it's been smooth sailing.
And then how are you kind of learning about running a business? Do you have mentors, or are you diving deep into yourself just to run a business?
Yeah, I got my first mentor from LinkedIn, besides my dad. Obviously, he's obviously my biggest mentor, but I got my first mentor from LinkedIn when I got like 2,000 followers. This man called Richard Moore reached out. He added me, and I remember very vividly when he added me, because I was like a fan. Like, I was a fangirl because he was like big, like sales guy, pro. When you see someone on LinkedIn, you're like, they're legit. That's how I felt. And then I was like, hey, nice to meet you. We have like the same color background. He's like, hey, yeah, cool, whatever. And then over time, we started building a relationship. And I asked him like, hey, like new freelancer, how like shy you get. I was like, I would love to have a coffee chat with you at some point. And he said, yeah. And since then, he's been coaching me. At the start, like he never charged me a penny for any of his calls or advice. But I ended up growing so much with his advice, and I obviously ended up hiring him. But now we've become really close friends. So that was my first mentor off LinkedIn for free. It's insane, like the possibilities of LinkedIn, of just not finding clients, but also finding mentors that I would have never had reach to or access. Insane. Like, he's got 20 plus years of experience in sales, worked with like the biggest companies in the UK, LinkedIn, I don't know, anyone else. And it's just crazy. So that's my first mentor. Now I've got a couple for like a lot of things. I find that I have a habit of spending all my money on coaching lately.
Yeah, good investment.
Yeah, that's what I say. Yeah, investment. But yeah.
Alex Hormozi, I think he was mentioning, what does he pay? He paid like $100,000 to sit with Grant Cardone for like an hour, which sounds crazy, but he's like, in that hour, what he learned is going to save him way more than that in the long run. So it's like, I think, when people start looking at accessing the people who are a few steps ahead of them, it may seem costly as people jump into this, but it saves you so much money, headache, time in the long run, that I definitely think it's the, I look back at college. Maybe you have a different experience with college, but I think for Art and I, we both look back at our college experience and we're like, like we had that, but then when we got hired, it had hardly anything to do with what we actually learned in college. Yet the things that we've actually made, call it post, college progress on, or outside of our career, has been through coaches and courses and other things that we've done as well. So it's such a key, I think, accelerator to learn.
I totally agree. I think it was even going back to branding. When you want to build a brand, you can pay two ways. You can pay for your time, or you can pay with money. With your time, you consistently build your brand until you get access to these people, or like opportunities. With money, if you already have it, you pay for access already, and then you get to skip the queue a little bit. So you can grow on social media either way. You just have to choose. Like, it's never free. You have to always pay with something.
Yeah, great way to put it.
You mentioned about how your first mentor, how much do you think your skills in learning copywriting came into play in the way you wrote him and were building that relationship?
Nothing. I had zero copywriting skill when I started LinkedIn. Like, I knew nothing. Up to this day, I've never really read a copywriting book. I've read a lot of psychology and marketing ones, but never a copywriting one. To me, it was all psychological and marketing and just people skills. I'm naturally an extrovert and can be quite charismatic when I try. So it was just, and also the willingness of putting myself out there. Like, I don't think many CEOs and founders see many young people yet, or like even now that it's increasing, but not a lot of people ask, or like not a lot of people go for it. They're like go-getters. So I just put myself out there and tried my best, and I think he appreciated that.
Art and I have talked about a few of these recently. We talked about maybe doing a podcast at some point, some of the mistakes people end up making, because similar to what you said about how you reached out and, connected with this person. Well, a while back, I had somebody on LinkedIn who they basically were on this post, and it was in the comments, and they're like, how does somebody get a coach in real estate? And I had some experience there on short-term rentals. And anyway, through that, I actually wrote to him, and I'm just like, hey, actually, I'd be more than happy to jump on a phone and help you out on this and that. And, he wrote back, he's like, great. And then he does this, but then twice I say canceled the call, didn't show up for the first one. Second one's like, let's reschedule. Then eventually he's just like, yeah, sorry, I just got a lot going on now. And I'm like, dude, like, I was more than happy to, jump in and help with that. And I think that's a big way that a lot of people shoot themselves in the foot, because there are these mentors out there, but are you willing?
It's a mindset shift. It's a mindset thing completely. I've been there before, where I get an amazing lead and something in me is telling me that I don't deserve it. And then I just blow it up. Like, I'm like, oh, sorry, I can't make the call. Or like, oh, no, never mind. It's a mind. It's crazy how much your mind comes into play. And then a friend of mine recommended me to go to sports therapy, because it's the same. It's like endurance. It's like, how much pressure are you willing to take? And it's the same thing. And yeah, it's a shame that we're not taught this in school, which is the real things that we should be learning, like how to deal with unexpected things or pressure and come across as like winner.
I love that.
Yeah. So maybe just touched on something that's dear to my heart, sports, and just everything that's around sports. And I take a lot of my influence from sports coaches and athletes. So I'm curious to hear about your experience working with a sports therapist.
It's the same. Like, it's been great. We just worked on the things that I just needed to deal with. That's why I really like David Goggins. Like, that mentality is everything. Like, you just have to be a top performer everywhere in your life.
You said something in there, though, too, that just made me think for a minute, because even sometimes with these individuals who do come back, if I don't have much of rapport with them yet, and they, brush you off twice, whatever it is, there's that part of me that's like, oh, well, see you later. I tried to help you, but you got to be willing to help yourself. But at the same time, there's that other end where, with that coach hat on too, it's like, no, let's do this. Come on. You really want, and maybe, and actually you've just informed my approach a little bit more, instead of going to that, place of, twice now, come on, buddy, do you want this or not? I will try to take that approach next time, where I come in at it and say, hey, if for any reason it's because of these things, don't worry about those. Let's do this anyway. No harm done, kind of thing out of it. But like, I think there's a different way to be able to approach that, to help them through that, because you're right. When that is a scenario, I always feel, and for anybody, I mean, I've faced it myself, plenty of us face it, because I think it's, oh gosh, what's his name? Seth Godin talks about lizard brain, and this part of our brain that goes to fear first and wants to go to fight or flight instead of, thinking about action. And it's so key to not let your lizard brain, the ancient survival part of our brain that's just trying to stay safe, take control. So anyway, I love what you said, and I'm going to try to make sure I take that into some of my conversations in the future a little bit more.
Let me give you a really cool anecdote, and I've got a few of these. Today, I just had an hour call for free with a person that couldn't pay, and he told me in the call he couldn't afford my hourly consulting rate. So what he did is he took a video of mine and he made a masterpiece out of it, like a proper YouTube video quality editing, where he like exposed me. And he was like, in this video, I'm going to expose Lara Acosta, and it's like all these animations like Imangaji style, like pro YouTube, all of those cool animations. He made it to me. He posted on LinkedIn. I didn't know him. Like, I had no idea he was doing this. And then he did another one. So he did two. And obviously I replied, I reshared it, I reposted. It was so insane, like so much talent. The guy's from Pakistan. And I was like, how can I help you back? Like, please, like, how can I give back? He's like, can I please have an hour of your time? And I was like, of course you can. And then he came to the call prepared with a bunch of questions. Like, I'm so ready for this. I've been waiting for this. I couldn't afford your hourly call. So what could I do next? I asked myself, make you a video so I could get your attention. And then it worked. And I was like, of course it worked. And I've had like two instances like this, when someone built me a website and an email funnel. And then I ended up either hiring them or like referring them clients, or like giving them free advice that has helped them like 10x their like efforts. So I think the moment you realize there's so much opportunity out there for whatever you're doing, whether you're like a beginner or just like in between figuring out what you're gonna do, like you have to get out there and try, because no one else is coming to save you. You have to save yourself by trying and getting out there.
I mean, I guess without knowing or not knowing, they definitely played the rule of reciprocity.
Reciprocity.
They played on that rule with you, and it worked.
Yeah, Influence by Robert Cialdini is one of my favorite books. So he talks a lot about reciprocity bias. And every time I see someone applying it to me, I really appreciate it, because I do love psychology so much.
Can you touch on the other kind of takeaways you have from that book? Because I love that book too. And I think it should be something people keep going back to regularly.
I think I'm about to reread it again this year, but I always come back to the story that he opens with the jewelers, and how different pricing makes people behave differently. And then back to the other case study with the woman with the Tupperwares, and how people are influenced so easily. And then again with the car dealership, and it's all about how people perceive you, and how much something like a small tweak in what you're doing can impact you so greatly. Whether it's how alike you are with someone, like how easy you can mirror someone's behavior, and then how you can imitate them so they can like you, because everyone's a mirror and they want to buy from people that they like or like they relate to. So in personal branding, that's why storytelling is so powerful. That's why all of your favorite YouTubers or like even influencers, you mentioned Patrick Bet-David, like we know his story and he repeats it often, because it's a way for him to connect back to its core audience, which is like the people that do want to root for him to win. Same with Grant Cardone. I remember I went to a 10X event in 2020, didn't know who he was. My dad just took me for fun. I was like, okay.
Wow, that's a great gift from your dad.
I had no idea who he was. He was meant to go with my mom, and my mom couldn't go. So he was like, you can come with me. And I was like, yeah, I have nothing else to do, I guess. And I had no expectation. 10X events, I don't know if you guys seen it was a show. Like there was me thinking it was going to be a boring networking event. And then I got a whole Las Vegas exposure. But he opened up with, I don't know him, like no idea who the guy is. He opens up with his like rags to riches. And the impact that story had for me up until this day has been so meaningful, not just in the terms of entrepreneurship, but also storytelling, like how he related every single part of his story, not to himself, but to the audience. It was a masterpiece. So yeah, that's it. A lot of storytelling and influence has to be involved.
I was going to say, to kind of double click on this idea of storytelling, but really in the LinkedIn space, like what are some best practices or advice you have on how to tell stories on LinkedIn?
I love this question. Everybody always cringes at themselves when they're trying to write about themselves, because self-promotion can be a little bit tricky or just icky. Like, why do I have to share this? Like, this looks so pompous. This looks so weird. I don't want people to think that I'm just showing off. So my main thing with stories, like, they're never about you. They're always about your reader. Look at the hero's journey with Harry Potter and like all these superheroes. They are the main character, but the main character is how you relate to them. Like Harry Potter was like an outcast, and he was meant always a superhero. We all knew that, but he had to go through all these things to get to the final level, like at the last movie. Same with superheroes. They have all these powers, but they also have like a very dark background that people can relate to and they can root for. So when you're thinking about this achievement that you want to share, instead of saying, oh, I'm so happy to announce that in the typical LinkedIn manner, just go and think, what is the main takeaway that someone can take from this story that I'm about to tell, like this win? If I just got promoted at Bloomberg, why am I happy that I'm getting promoted? Oh, since I was a little kid, I wanted to be a financial analyst. This day today marks the start of a new life. That is a lot more impactful than just saying, hey, I'm so excited to announce that I just got promoted to director and CEO of Bloomberg. Like, see the difference? It's the impact, is the story. I think it came very easy to me because I'm a big nerd when it comes to Harry Potter, and I've been consuming content for so long, and I can tell when a story is just inspirational and when it's not. And the difference is just like, how are you leading? Are you leading with purpose, or are you being selfish?
I think the word that comes to mind when you say that, which can be a struggle for some people, is authenticity. And I admit at times, people have talked about that idea of, lead with authenticity, but I do think that that's a big piece of it. If somebody is just sharing it as if, to borrow from Jay or Yasmin, is, he talks about how he writes his post, "Dear son," sort of thing. Like when you are speaking as if you were speaking to somebody, then I think those stories can come across with a lot more impact than I think some of us who, when we're on social media, are just trying to reach the masses sometimes. And in doing that, everybody's so concerned about their brand in a way that they're trying to guard it, I don't know, too much. And then what you end up with in the end is a lack of a story, because you cut all of the stuff that you thought would actually appeal to people, but now it appeals to anybody. I don't know if that made a lot of sense, but in this head, it did.
Truly, I love Yasmin's way of teaching storytelling. He's one of my biggest mentors on when it comes to copywriting. And when I think of authenticity, and this is a big question again, like how to be authentic online, how to tell an authentic story, I never know what to say, because I never really thought about being authentic online. I'm just myself. There's this really cool quote from Danko, and it goes something like, the more authentic, happy, and successful you notice yourself being, the less you become it. Because when you become aware of, oh, you're so successful or you're so authentic, the less you are, because you're not meant to know when you're being authentic, because essentially you're just being yourself. And when people highlight, like, they go like, oh, you're so authentic, how do you do it? Everything I do for like the day after, I'm just looking at it like, I don't know what I'm doing like now. I don't know how to be authentic, because it was never the point. The point is being myself, like the best version possible of myself.
Which is funny, because for some people that is authentic, but at the same time, the way that you just said it, and coming from Dan Coe, who gets all philosophical, of course, he manages to turn it into one where you're like seeing yourself out of body experience now to think about. Yeah.
What if somebody's authentic self, as they are, just doesn't resonate with people? Like they're not likable. How would that person actually build a personal brand?
Well, if you're not likable, then there's something deeper to it than your personal brand and authenticity. There's something wrong. But I think there's someone for everyone. On LinkedIn, there's a lot of people that I personally don't enjoy, but a lot of people love. So it's all about finding your true tribe and growing that. So one of my friends, let's put Luke Matthews, he was into pizzas and quotes and wizards and writing, right? There was nothing about him that I would have liked at the time, but he had a cult following of people that really resonated with that message. It was like chaotic, it was crazy, it was like new age, LinkedIn, and people loved it. So there's something out there for everyone, but it might never, people just think that they have to conform in this box where you have to be happy and bubbly and be like always excited to announce and always have value to share. No, like the value is you. Like, what do you bring to the table that other people can't? That's the same thing with AI. Like, AI won't replace any copywriter, any marketer, any person. It will only replace those who don't have stories to share. If you have a story to share that makes you non-likable, it might make you likable to someone else. You never know until you try.
And with Luke's story, I think he was not liked by LinkedIn 6 or 7 times, right? They tried to kick him off. Yeah.
And now he's obviously had to rebrand accordingly and be careful with what he says, which has taken him into a route of different things. And now I really like his content. It's great.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Well, this is that perfect.
He's awesome.
Yeah. No, but this is that question now, because this is the one that will make a clip for Luke. Who is better, you or Luke?
Who is better? You, Luke and I are the same person. That's a secret no one knows.
Yeah, exactly. He always talks smack. I see in his, in the messages and stuff like that. So that's why I wasn't sure. I always like to pull you into it. So I wasn't sure if this was your chance.
No, I think I'm funnier. No, actually, I'm better than him. Let's just put it that way. I'm younger. I'm stronger. I'm better. I'm just 100% better.
I like the
what we're looking
take
for.
it.
I've seen over the last few months, I would say, Luke getting a little more aggressive on talking about AI and how he uses AI. Where do you see AI in 2024 and how it fits into your plans?
Yeah, I remember it was like I think ChatGPT launched like a month ago, a year ago almost, like a month ago. I remember seeing, I was like, I would never. I was also a student, so like AI ChatGPT would have never helped me with my assignments. It was like a really tricky thing if I went down that hill. But today, I literally use AI for every single thing I do. I don't use it for my writing, but I use it for all the things like research, and Opus is like AI. I use Alter AI for transcriptions. Like everything I do is AI now. So the future of it is amazing because it's gonna make a creator's world a lot easier to access. Like I can instead of taking 3 hours to write a post for a client, it takes me like 1 hour instead of like doing research. So it's not going to replace anything. It's just going to aid the best at what they do, which is the best reframe for it. Right now, we're building Lara AI as well by a company called Coach. They're taking all of my content on LinkedIn and Twitter and then feeding it into a personalized AI that knows everything, that speaks like the same way I do, knows everything I do. And you can just ask her questions and she will reply like me. So a year ago, I would have never thought that would be available, and today it is, which is insane.
It is insane. Is that going to just be a chat bot, or are you going to go all in on video version of you with your sound alike too?
That would be crazy. I don't know the future. We're just testing her out. But right now you can feed it a piece of content and she'll roast it. And she'll roast it, she'll be like, that's shit. And I'll be like, and with my clients, I do the same. I'm like, did you just write that? Like, why are you showing me this? Like, go back and write it. So it's crazy. It's so insane. So I'm so very excited about AI. It's amazing. I love Bing chat. I absolutely love above ChatGPT and What's Bad and Perplexity. So if I had to choose, I would always go for Bing. So you guys should try it because it's great.
Got it. And Bing mainly because it's got the latest version of ChatGPT built in that, right? Or is there other things that Bing does that stands out?
Yeah. So Bing, what it does is like directly takes content from like another website and can create content directly. So for content creation, and especially for LinkedIn and Twitter, like, you know how it's like line, formatting, bullet points, right? If I ask ChatGPT to write me a post for LinkedIn, it won't do it like that. It will give me paragraphs and I'll have to like separate it. But Bing, it does that for me as long as I prompt it correctly. Amazing. I'm a big fan. If anyone wants to call Microsoft, like I want to talk. I love it. Yeah.
That's great. I love it. And then back to the thing, there are tools out there right now that literally let people capture. I guess in this case, it is a specific avatar that they have built into the thing, but there's another tool, I'm forgetting some of their 7 Labs or something, that will take voice recordings of you and be able to do your voice as well. So Tony Robbins was somebody who, for the longest time, he's been working with the company with the idea of capturing his digital version of him so that in that future, or even, on your phone when somebody's looking for, the stuff that now they'll pay his team and others for coaching on, that theoretically he would be able to be there for you in this digital version that feels and looks like Tony Robbins. So it's interesting to think about a world and where everybody will have it. Is it just Lara AI? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's Lara AI, so I'll continue the link, but she's awesome. She says slay, she's got all my lingo written down. She knows who my friends are. If you ask her who Luke is, and like if you actually ask her like who do you prefer, who's better, Lara or Yasmin or like Luke, she'll actually argue, which is literally me.
That's
I love her. Yeah.
It's how people now can have twins that didn't have twins, I guess.
It's I think this technology is just amazing for us creators that have a purpose of helping others to a scale. There's times like with that guy that I had a call with an hour ago for free, like he couldn't afford my services. So, but the impact that I know that call is going to make on him is insane. So how can I create this access to people that they can access it for like what, $5 a month, like $10 a month, whatever, instead of like 100,000, like $1,000 a month. So all big like Tony Robbins, I can't imagine the massive impact he's already having with people. Even Joe Dispenza with Gaia, like his like subscription model, he's got all the tools there, and instead of having a one-to-one call with him, you can just go and learn from him, which is amazing.
Makes me think of something else that I've picked up recently that seems to be this model a lot of people are moving towards. Because for a while there had been the idea of somebody taking, the one-to-one, whether it's coaching, consultation, whatever it is, and then turn that into a course or a cohort or something like that. Had been pretty normal. But a lot of people now are taking it to the next level, which is that there's then the software. And it's something that Russell Brunson has done for a long time with, his ClickFunnels, and the idea of so much of his that leads into that. But now many more, especially because AI has made it easier to build these low-cost tools, or for that matter, what you just described with Lara AI. It's like now people will potentially have access to that. And what it might actually mean is people's funnels change, because sure, the cohort and the consulting, that's all good and well, but what's really scalable is this, and it can be done for so much less for people, but yet it is a consistent model that then people have access to on a regular basis. So over the long run, not to turn a human into a, earnings over a lifetime, but from a business perspective, there is that aspect and that ability that people can now create these softwares, and especially with AI, starts to open up and change that story a little bit about, I think, how people look at some of these businesses.
Yeah, it's insane. Like the opportunities out there on the internet is incredibly crazy. There's this meme that I always refer to when people are talking about B2B SaaS and the creator spectrum. Because if you go back to how the creator economy started growing and how entrepreneurs are making money, they start with a freelancer agency, and now it's like freelancer agency SaaS. And it's just so funny to me. Or like there's this other meme that goes like, one day you're young and cool, the next you're thinking about B2B SaaS, which is literally so funny to me, because that's me. Like I'm 26 and I'm just thinking about all these like things I never thought I would be thinking about, especially B2B SaaS. So I love it. It's crazy.
Full circle. It's just a full circle.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
A little bit of a fun question for you, Lara. Let's say you had no personal brand, or you didn't have an intentional personal brand, and you could steal somebody's. Who would you steal? Celebrity, influencer?
I think Gary V's 100%. He's been the most impactful man in any marketer's careers. At one point, someone watched a Gary Vee video and it changed the way they saw marketing. So to have that amount of impact and still be up and running, like he's been at it for years and he's still incredibly relevant. I've seen a lot of marketers fall, or like even social media marketers like himself fall, and he's still running it. So his ability to connect with so many people is insane. That goes back to storytelling and stuff, but it's amazing.
And it's that connection, but at the same time, he could roast. Like he could tell you straight, and kind of going back to what you were explaining about, you or your AI now. It's like there is some of that obviously in there as well, but that's this balance that I personally love, and I try to strive for it, but you always try to, you want to make sure that roast comes across, that people know it's still with love, because I just want you to be wildly successful. Yeah.
I think what's unique about him too is how he's defining success and how he focuses success on happiness, versus a lot of other people have a different way of defining success. So, and people resonate to that, success is not about the materialistic things. Are you happy doing what you do? And if you're happy doing what you do, but you're making $50,000 a year, then you're successful. And that, I think, resonates with the masses.
Yeah, I 100% resonate with that message specifically. During university, when I was first starting the business, I printed out a photo of Gary Vee. I literally just remembered, and it was him with a heart. And I think it was like, love yourself first, or like take care of yourself first. And I carried that message all throughout university, because if a man like Gary Vee that's running multi 7-8 figure agencies and multimedia and doing all of these things can take time for love and freedom and kindness, then why can't I? So I think I've been massively influenced by him in kindness. Everything I do is from a selfless, loving way, rather than a very selfish, monetary purpose, like give me your money way, which I think is the best way to build a brand.
I love it. And then with what you said on Gary Vee there too, just seeing that, how much of an impact, because between you jumping into LinkedIn, as you mentioned, kind of based on some of the stuff by what you carried with you even in college and stuff, it is so amazing when we could find those individuals who can resonate with us so much that they, heavily shape our future. Obviously not taken away from your dad here, because we know he's your biggest impact in the world, which I love. That's so amazing as well. By the way, has your dad taken you to Tony Robbins or just Grant Cardone so far?
It's just Grant Cardone, but he does like Tony Robbins. He loves Joe Dispenza as well.
Okay. Yeah, Ard and I went to a Tony Robbins once, and it was, just such an amazing event. We did.
Oh, not several times, not once.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
We walked fire. Yeah.
Are
pretty incredible.
I did have a friend though. I don't remember this. Jason, who was actually working the event. He worked with us at Disney, but he also was working the event. He managed to fall though and burn himself in the coals. So it is real coal. So I don't think otherwise. It's a weird, different story there. But anyway, ours was much more successful, and we did walk on the coal.
That's so cool. I'm looking forward to the day I get to do it, because it sounds like a very fulfilling experience.
It's a very somewhat of a religious experience, I have to say, because being with 10,000 people going through a roller coaster of emotion that you would never thought could come out is very powerful and very motivating. But as anything with motivation, you're motivated for like 2 weeks and then it dies down. So then you have to constantly find that chip on your shoulder or whatever to keep you going. But during the event and days after it, you're on cloud nine. It's unbelievable.
And it's tapping into the psychology too, again, and he focuses a lot on that. So, because what is incredible is there's certain key things from like that event now, where if I said to Arton, make your move, which is something that comes out of Tony Robbins events, he wants to make his move. I want to do my move. And you can feel it, and you could channel that back again, which is pretty incredible. And I think whether anybody wants to look at that as a Tony Robbins or whatever, because sometimes people say self-help gurus or motivation. It's like, no, it's just helping, individuals like really channel the things that I think too often in life, we don't have that chance because, I don't know, people have a certain status quo way that they want you to live. And ultimately him, and just like others out there, Gary Vee, in my opinion as well, are just about having you challenge what other people say should be the normal way that you approach life. So anyway, hope one day you do get to attend to Tony Robbins. They were pretty incredible. And I feel like moving more and more after COVID to more of these remote ones. And the in-person is really incredible, because I highly doubt they tell you now to light your own backyard on fire and walk on it. So.
No, but there you can see the power of, and one thing that I've studied the most out of a lot of things when it comes to marketing is cults. And I'm not saying Tony Robbins thinks it's cult, but it's near one or a community. And the most impactful thing for me, when it came to LinkedIn, was community. The idea that you're growing something together, you don't know what it is, but you know that there's some power in there, and you're driven by the same thing, which is either like the chip on your shoulder, or like the idea that you were depressed before, now you want to change the transformation or the idea of something, and then doing it together with someone else can create such massive movements, as you can see. So with LinkedIn, it's literally the same. You find people that think like you, work like you, are interested in the same things that you are interested in, and you can get to post about them and communicate with people all across the world, CEOs that you have never had access to. And I really feel like resonant to LinkedIn because of the community aspect. It's crazy.
For me, similar things as any of the other social networks I always struggled with, because again, I just felt like in that case, it was a lot of people who were trying to put out a persona that was, those tidbits of just the best parts. And I'm not saying people don't do that on LinkedIn, but what I like about LinkedIn is it feels like it's a little bit more networking with purpose, for me, even though oftentimes for me, it is a matter of saying, oh, I saw you need help with this. I'm happy to do that. And somebody who's more introverted, that makes it easy for me as an icebreaker, because now I could see that and I don't have to get through it with all the small talk per se. But what I will still say is there's this interesting balance, because now, it's a term being, pitch slapped all the time on LinkedIn, because with that, there's this interesting balance now, because there's this community that's there, but then at the same time, there are very much these other individuals who, whether it's leveraging the AI, whether it's just jumping in right away to basically be able to be like, hey, I do, you want to buy this, from me, and like a better way to put it. There's this, balance with it. And I will say that those individuals that, you are able to start fostering that with become so important. And I'm curious for you, obviously, referencing both Luke and Yasmin, in that scenario, these are, I've heard you all, I think, talk through, I think it might have been that really long session you guys had live or something like that. And there might have been another one where you talked about the fact that you guys will review each other's stuff and things like that. But how important to your success do you feel the three of you having each other has actually been?
Yeah, totally. Like, with the cohort, I'm trying to build something like what me, Luke, and Yasmin have. Like, on that chat, it's going off 24/7. Like, we're consistently roasting each other. We send posts all the time, and I ask Jasmine for help. He shows us his content, and he'll be like, "Oh, I'll be like, I don't like that." He'll roast me. I'll roast him. We'll start an argument. I hate on him, and then again, I feel that trip to Bosnia that I did with Luke. At the time, I didn't know Luke that well, and we didn't even know Jasmine. Like, we just popped in, and it was pivotal for my career. I 100% believe it, because it showed me the true impact of consistent efforts and also being around passionate people. Yasmin has such passion with copywriting, and Luke has such passion with just being the best, that as a result, I just became the best of both of them, the best result I could be from both of them. And I had some impact in their lives as well. And my writing became more intentional. The way I communicated became better because I was getting feedback in real time from people that were actually interested in me. And then also the accountability of it, like, are you posting this week? Are you not posting? Are you being better today? How are you improving yourself? So community is everything.
I love that. Art and I having, been, I say with each other, a long part of our lives, but, we went to film school together. We worked at Macy's together selling women's shoes. We worked at Disney together. We've worked on a lot of sides, but having each other in that has been something that's been really incredible, because this is somebody who's going to roast you, but roast you with love, and at the same time just try to make the best you can be. And in modern day, just taking it back to story for a second, with I think about Pixar had an incredible run with their stories, and there's a couple of their ones recently haven't been as tremendous, but part of their success with that, and as Disney Animation started doing this better too, was that they had this brain trust, is what they called it, which was this group of these individuals that would get together and, in essence, roast, improve upon each other's stories, ideas, and help them be the best that they could be. And there was this importance to being open to that, but at the same time, that community that they created, where they all knew ultimately what they were striving for, was so critical. And that's why they produce such greatness. And I believe, as I look at, you, as I look at, Yasmin, when I look at Luke, just as, three musketeers or whatever names you guys go by, I don't know, there's probably a better one out there, but like Three Amigos, maybe that one's better. Anyway, it's like, but I think
It's Lara and gang. I call it.
Lara gang. I think that's perfect. That's good. Okay, I like that. But I think it's definitely something, and you guys all have this energy that's really incredible that I just, greatly admire. And it's almost like each one of you guys, you cheerlead each other, which is also just, amazing. And anyway, just saying, I admire that and love what you guys.
I feel like all of us have this very strong purpose on being the people that we lacked when we were on the come up. So no one was kind, or like everybody was so selfish and just focused on growth and clients and lead gen. And what I was missing, at least when I can speak for myself, is community and someone that just wanted me to do well and excel. And then I found Jasmine, who genuinely wanted the best for me, and I wanted the best for him. And then Luke came along as well, and that he met those values. And now we're trying to make LinkedIn just friendly and fun, instead of just so dominant on leads and sales and strategy and boring content, and just like, be happy. You can literally build your dream reality if you just learn the basics of copywriting and commit to consistently show up on LinkedIn. That's literally it. That's literally everything you should do. And then obviously we give advice on specific things like copywriting and branding, but essentially all we did was try.
Speaking of trying, you had a very successful cohort launch in 2023.
Thank you.
What's the plans for 2024?
So we're relaunching the cohort in February, version 2, better, stronger, faster, a lot more equipped, better masterclasses, even the same ones. I'm very excited talking about all the things I wished I knew about personal branding, psychology, copywriting, networking, influence, book resources, live calls with me, everything that I wish I knew. It's there for everyone to build their personal brand easily, confidently, and better.
I'm curious, are there some key things after this first cohort that you're like, oh, next time I definitely want to do? Like, how would you fill in that blank?
I honestly think the first cohort was so perfect because I've been planning it in my head for years. I didn't know what it was going to be for like 5 years, but I knew I wanted to teach the basics of influence and charisma and networking because it's like what I've done all my life. And then just integrating the basics of copywriting that I just recently learned. And then it's so easy for people to learn. So everything is perfect. Maybe pull down a little bit on, other aspects that weren't as necessary, such as like chats and stuff, and more focus on one-to-one people. So like more roasting, more one-to-one time with me, challenges. So we started adding challenges for the cohort so people could be consistent and they had a reason to keep on pushing, which is something that Luke, Jasmine, and I do, which is constantly challenge each other. So building on that as well. I'm a gym goer, so I call them weekly reps. So like going to the gym, you go and do the same boring fundamentals. It's the same with content. So yeah, applying my gym philosophies to it as well.
That's great. Do you have a time frame for when your cohort 2.0 is gonna be available?
Yeah, so February 6th start launch, and then I think I said February 16th we close, and then we start the week after.
That is amazing.
I'm so excited.
Well, I'm not going to ask you where can people find you because it's pretty easy where people can find you, but we'll make sure to link to you anyways if anybody is newly exposed to Lara.
And they can now find her on other platforms because she's diversifying. So listen.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
But this has been amazing, Lara. It felt like a mini masterclass in personal branding and LinkedIn. So that I think it's very valuable. So greatly appreciate it. If anybody, everybody share this, like this. Trust me, you're gonna do somebody a favor by just sharing what Lara said today.
Yeah, and just start posting on LinkedIn.
Yes. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was amazing. Thank you. And we'll see everybody in the next episode. Thank you.